Welcome to Mad About Marriage. Today's topic is the impact spirituality has on a relationship. Now, here's Mike and Gail.
Ephesians 5:31 says, "For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." Creating a deeper spiritual connection with your spouse can have many benefits for your marriage. And we've invited Claudio and Pamela Consuegra, the directors of Family Ministries for the North American Division of Seventh-day Adventists, to share with us their thoughts on this subject. Welcome to the show, Claudio and Pamela.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah,
Good to have you
our
guys.
good friends. We're so glad that you've come to be with us.
It's a
Looking
pleasure
forward
to be
it.
here and to see you again.
Now, we want to know, in marriage, when you talk about intimacy, what is it that normally comes to mind?
Well, I think when you first mention the word intimacy, immediately that physical connection comes to most people's minds. They think of this issue of sex. That's what intimacy means.
Mostly to men anyway.
Yeah,
That's what happens,
That's what men
we want to
usually
talk about the real issues there.
But today we're talking about a different kind of intimacy.
Okay.
We're really talking about spiritual intimacy, which, as we talk about, you're going to find it's more than just physical intimacy. It's emotional intimacy. It's connecting in every aspect of your life. And it really comes down to spiritual intimacy, really is all about partnering with God.
Well, what does that mean? What is a partnership with God, and what does that look like?
Well, in reality, and I think the text that you began with makes it so clear that when a marriage functions with God at the center, it functions much better. In fact, if I can read just part of that passage that you didn't, it's a beautiful passage that has been ignored greatly. There in Ephesians chapter 5, Paul writes that husbands should love their wives. And then he says, because Christ loved the church. And so following that example, he says that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water of the word, which is telling us that marriage, one of the missions, one of the purposes of marriage is to sanctify us in preparation for the second coming of Jesus. So that's true intimacy when God comes and we partner with him to help each other prepare for his soon coming.
That's a beautiful
So
thought.
sanctifying, what does that mean to sanctify us?
Sanctification is the process of preparation for the coming of Jesus.
Being
And so
prepared.
to think that my role as a husband is to help my wife be ready for that event. Her role as a wife is to help me be ready for that event. It changes the focus of what marriage is all about.
That's right.
It does.
Another way that we really like to explain it to couples is to think of a triangle. And think of you being on one end of the triangle, your spouse on another, and at the apex is Jesus Christ. And as individuals, as we become closer to Jesus Christ, well, what's happening to us? We're also becoming closer to each other.
Yeah.
So
It's inevitable, isn't it?
That's right. So
It's
this
gonna
whole
happen.
thing of spiritual intimacy, I think an easy illustration is a triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
So how do you start? What are the first steps to take in order to find this journey to intimacy with God?
The easiest and simplest one is to begin right now with prayer.
Yeah.
Praying for one another. In fact, as a marriage and family counselor, that's one of the things that I always said to the couples that came to me. The very first session I gave them for homework was, tonight you need to go home and pray for each other. But do it verbally, audibly, and do it for each other, but don't use prayer as a weapon. I say to them, Gail, don't pray for Mike. God, make this man a good man, because he's horrible as it is.
Change my husband, please.
Would you please fix this man? Yeah.
That's a weapon.
Yeah.
Rather
Yeah.
pray for each other's health. Mike has this project in mind. Father, bless him. Bless Gail in her health, whatever it may be. You pray for. There's power when you hear your spouse interceding before God for you. So
Wow.
that's the very first step. Begin by praying for each other on a regular basis.
Do couples find that easy, though? Praying, I mean, when we've talked to couples, often they say, we don't pray together.
Yes.
That's hard.
Well, I think one of the keys, Gail, is we're not talking about long, drawn-out prayers that maybe you're uncomfortable with. We're only talking about even sentence prayers. Or what we suggest to couples is 5 minutes a day. If you really want to transform your marriage, are you willing to commit 5 minutes a day to that task? Pray with and pray for. But, you know, in the beginning, if you find it difficult to pray out loud with each other, maybe you can just hold hands and each of you pray silently.
Yeah.
Until you become
Great
comfortable
way to
with
start.
praying out loud.
That's a
Because
good
a lot of
thought.
people think they don't have the language for prayer,
Yeah,
but I
that's
like
right.
what you're talking about. Just a sentence that says, you know, bless my spouse when he's doing this today.
That's right.
Yeah, but 5 minutes. Can 5 minutes a day really change your marriage? I mean, 5 minutes? Seriously?
Absolutely.
Well, listen to this statistic. The National Marriage Project just did a survey. They found that couples that prayed 5 minutes a day, 1 in every 1,152 of those couples ended up in divorce.
No, I want to hear that
come
again.
on.
Come on.
1 in every 1,152. I mean, what else can
Oh,
you do
man.
that I could tell you if you could just do this one thing, 5 minutes a day? What else could be so powerful that it could transform, not just transform, it could save your marriage?
I don't think you'll find it.
There's no better investment of 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
5 minutes.
I mean, you know, we talk, you know, you do the same thing. We do counseling, we do marriage seminars, we talk about changing the way we talk to each other. All that's important. All of that's vital. But 5 minutes a day in prayer, praying for and with, will transform your marriage. And 1 in 1,000,
152.
I'm sorry, but that's just incredible.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean-
when you consider that the regular divorce rate is like 40 to 50%.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
no.
right.
Interestingly enough, if we were to say to a couple, you need to take a trip to Africa
Yeah.
and climb a high mountain or something, they'll probably do it.
Yeah.
But when you say 5 minutes of prayer, I don't know if we can manage
Manage that,
that.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
too awful, too hard. But that's as simple as it is. And it can begin with just that short prayer, maybe even writing the prayer and reading it to each other.
That's great. Yeah.
But you need to pray together.
Pray
That's the
together,
Wow.
pray for and
Love it.
with each other. All right, 5 minutes.
It almost
We're-
sounds too easy
It
to
does,
be true,
doesn't
doesn't
it?
it?
Yeah, 5 minutes. But we're going to take 2 minutes right now for a break. And we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. We're talking about the impact of spirituality on a marriage with our guests, Claudio and Pamela Consuegra. Now, we've just talked about this amazing statistic that couples that pray for and with each other 5 minutes a day, only 1 in 1,152 get
That's
divorced.
right.
I remember
That's right.
this
We're going to
now.
remember that.
Yeah, that sticks in your mind. So how is it that prayer transforms your relationship? How does that happen?
Well, to begin with, it brings you together. I think she mentioned that, the triangle. So it provides unity to the relationship,
Yeah.
which is very important. When we're heading in different directions, we don't have a common goal, we don't know where we're going, then obviously that doesn't provide for that intimacy that we've been talking about.
Makes sense.
But by bringing spirituality into our lives, it unites us. So that's the first benefit of it.
The other thing it does, it promotes communication between you. Because I'm talking to my husband on a regular basis saying, what are your struggles today? What do you have coming up that you'd like for me to be in prayer
So pray
about?"
intelligently.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, just talk to each other. What are your struggles? What are your victories? What are your things we should celebrate in prayer that I should thank God for that you're experiencing? So just communicating, and that's a big step towards marital satisfaction. Great communication, and that's
Absolutely.
what prayer does. You see, it's not only communicating with God, but when I'm praying for and with my spouse, then that kind of forces me to communicate with Him.
Well, it's a three-way conversation,
Yeah.
then,
Right.
isn't it?
Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's the word that we like to emphasize. Communication is conversation.
Yeah.
Prayer is conversation. You know, we go back to the 5 minutes, but it's a conversation.
Yeah.
We can talk for hours sometimes when we consider it that way, as opposed to a discourse that we
Yeah.
have to come up with to impress God.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of people get in their mind about prayer is a
Yeah.
discourse or something.
Right.
It really is a conversation with a friend.
Absolutely.
We're just going to
Right.
talk. But I like what you say, that it's important to talk to your spouse about, what should I pray for you about? What do you want me to be praying for you over?
Right.
You know, I think the general prayer of bless my spouse, bring richness to their life, you know,
Right.
health and healing. But the conversation, how can I pray for you? That's powerful, isn't it?
It is.
Well, I think
It is.
that's touching to a person's heart. I mean, you know, that says, wow, you're thinking about me, you care about me, that you
Yeah.
would actually ask what you want me to pray
You know,
about.
it's very, very special. And not just recently, in fact, I was finishing the dissertation that I just defended, and to hear her pray, God bless him, give him a clear mind as he's going to defend and all that, it makes a difference to me.
Yeah.
To know that she's thinking about me,
Yeah.
that she's not, you know, those general prayers, again, just bless him, it's almost like brushing him off.
Yeah.
But for this specific need,
Yeah.
means
This,
a lot.
this is a big thing in my husband's life.
Yes.
That's right.
Please, Lord, bless
Yes.
him.
Yeah.
That's marvelous.
And
All right,
I think
that's
I think the third thing that prayer does is it, you know, not only does it it enhance communication, but it brings Christ into our relationship. Our issues, our problems, our struggles, it's no longer about just him and me.
Yeah.
Now God's involved. And what a difference that makes to have Christ involved in our struggles, you know, in our relationships. So prayer automatically brings him into the picture.
That's incredible.
You're bringing the power of the universe into your home.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, wow.
The great healer of the
Right.
universe. So if we have problems in our relationship, who better to heal it?
Yeah, that's right.
God himself. Yeah.
So the first step towards spiritual intimacy is prayer. Praying 5 minutes a day for and with your spouse.
Right.
What's the second step?
How about reading or studying together,
Okay.
which we call that devotional time as
Yeah.
well. You know, you can read the Bible, you can read a devotional book. The key is to find the time to do it. I
Yeah.
happen to be a morning person. She's not a morning person, so if we try to do it in the morning, it's not going to work for
Not
us.
gonna work, yeah.
So for instance, in our case, we have found that before we go to bed,
Yeah.
it's when we spend some time reading, praying, and then we finish it up with a beautiful kiss.
That's
And then you know what happens next?
Ah.
I go to sleep. I'm a normal man. I go to
There
the
you go.
pillow, and before
You're
I hit
done.
the pillow, I
Yeah.
have my first dream already.
That's right.
She has to take a little longer, typical woman
Yeah,
who has
yeah.
to think about what's going to happen tomorrow. But
Yeah.
at least
Make
we
her
finish
list
our
and-
day together
You finish
Yeah.
it together.
with the right atmosphere.
So for
I love
some
that.
couples it might be morning, and for others
That's
it's
right.
what works for you, right?
Maybe even
and that's a
mid-afternoon.
key. Just make sure you're having
Yeah.
that daily devotional time together, whatever works for you. In fact, we even suggest to couples, if you're separated, maybe one spouse travels quite a bit and you're not together all the time. Well, with technology today,
Do it over the phone.
you can have a
Yeah.
Bible study on the cell phone, or what about Skype?
Sky.
Yeah,
there
Skype.
You can
You can
Skype
Skype
each
it.
other and have your
works.
devotionals together.
Now how long should that be, the devotional?
Well, there again, if you're not used to it, we tell people take baby steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start
Maybe
off
just
in small.
Yeah, maybe just a verse.
Yeah,
and
that's
there are
right.
beautiful devotionals for couples that you can purchase. There are beautiful passages in the Bible that
Oh,
you
wonderful.
can read, or just other books of interest. For a number of years, we read a number of books. For instance, one that comes to mind is the book His Need, Her Needs
Yeah.
by Willard Harley.
Willard Harley. We've
So
had
we
the
would
Harleys
read-
on the show.
There you
Yeah.
go. So we would read a chapter,
Yeah.
talk about it, have prayer, and so it actually began to change our relationship in a different way.
That's
And
great.
you know, the Harleys have created a devotional book that's made exactly for that.
For that-
It has
the same
a
purpose, yeah.
daily reading.
That's right.
That's all you need.
Just a short. You know, we don't want to discourage people because so many people think, oh, you're talking about
Yeah.
even 30 minutes or an hour, and I don't have that.
Yeah.
It can be very short.
Very sure. You know, the other thing that I don't know if you agree with this or not, but if you've never done this, to try to start off right away and say 7 times this week we're going to have a devotion may be a bit much.
Yeah.
So maybe
Right.
start off with twice. If we can
That's
if
right.
we can get it done twice this week, where we have a 1 to 5 minute devotional and 5 minutes of prayer, that's a pretty good step, you know.
And the
we
key
can build
is to
on that.
begin.
What's that?
The key is to begin.
That's right.
You know, I'm
Just
going to wait
begin.
till maybe next week or
Yeah.
no, just
Start
begin.
today.
Sure.
And don't be discouraged if, all right, we got it done twice this week. That's more than what we did last week.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And maybe next week we can move on to 3 times.
You're
right.
moving in the right direction.
That's
the key.
Yeah. All right, so first of all, we've got prayer, and then we've got devotional time, or the first 2 steps. We're going to save step number 3 for right after the break. But so be tuned, because in 2 minutes we get step number 3 to a spiritual intimacy with God. We'll be right back.
We're talking today about spiritual intimacy in marriage, and our guests are Claudio and Pamela Consuegra. And you've already shared with us that the first step to spiritual intimacy is praying together and then having devotional time together. What's number 3?
Well, number 3 is make decisions together. And some may be asking, what does that have to do with spiritual intimacy? Making decisions together. Well, it really has to do there again about communication.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about small decisions. We're not talking about what kind of gum to buy or something.
Yeah. Right.
Major life-changing decisions.
Okay.
Your career path. Maybe you're contemplating a move. Those major decisions that you talk to each other and you talk to God about them.
Yeah.
It's interesting how many times couples keep secrets from each other.
Yeah.
I want to buy a motorcycle. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell my wife because she's going to tell me not to buy it.
Yeah, I'm just
So
going to
I'll
show
go
up
ahead and
with
do
it.
it. I know, exactly.
Bad
But rather
plan.
to be able to talk about those things and ask for God's guidance, again, brings us closer together. So that
That's
would be
good.
step number 3.
So when we
Okay.
say talk about it together, we're talking about it together with God
Yes.
as well.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, so that's 3.
Correct.
Number 4.
Number 4 is attend church together. Put yourself as a couple within a community of Christians. And that's really what it's about, in a community that will feed you spiritually as husband and wife.
Because we're really not an island. I think that's the cliche that we hear all the time. And the church was created by God for us to support one another. Not only do I get the help from you, but rather I can also help you. We
Okay.
can look for more mature people, more mature couples that maybe have gone through difficult experiences, who maybe have a very close connection with God, and by getting close to them, again, it helps our relationship.
Yeah.
But then maybe there is a couple that needs our help, and when we help them, we help each other.
The idea of hanging out with couples who are successful is wise. I know a man who said he wanted to be rich, and so he made it a point to hang out with successful, rich people. And he learned their secrets, and he made a lot of money.
Became successful.
But you know, the same thing is true for marriage. If you want to be successful, you need to find successful people and emulate them.
That's right.
But then we have a responsibility, as you're saying, to pass that all along to the next
That's right.
next generation.
And of course, going to church, the obvious thing is that we are surrounded by a community of believers. We need each other. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25, God talks about that don't neglect meeting together, especially as the day approaches.
Yeah.
So we need to help each other in the setting of the church community.
That's a good
I like
idea.
that. Have a community.
Now, those are the 4 steps. You got a 5th?
Got one more.
One more.
Well, it is continue dating.
Okay.
And again, you might think, well, what does that have to do with spiritual intimacy? Spending a lot of time together without distractions, no cell phone, no television, no computer, no friends, no children, allows us the opportunity to get reconnected. In fact, we give our couples a little formula that they can apply. Very simple formula. To spend at least 30 minutes each night. Again, no distractions of any other kind, just the 2 of us. 30 minutes each night, 1 night a week, 1 day a month, and 1 weekend per quarter.
Okay.
Just the 2. So it's a simple one. 30 minutes a night, 30 minutes a night,
30
Okay.
minutes a night,
1 night a week,
1 night a week,
1 day a month,
1 day a month.
and 1 weekend per quarter.
Okay.
Get reconnected, because not only does prayer help your marriage, but your marriage will also help your prayer life. And that's the other thing that we haven't always talked about. We think that, well, we're going to pray to fix things.
Yeah.
But when we have a good marriage, a good relationship, it can also help our prayer life, which is sort of the reverse.
Yeah.
And that's how, again, intimacy happens.
And that relationship is built by spending time together having fun, reconnecting,
Yes.
is what you're saying.
And we want to
Absolutely.
talk especially to those who may be parents out there
Yeah.
who think, I can't do that. I have little children that I need to take care of. But when we talk to parents, we tell them the number 1 gift that you can give your children is a good marriage.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's the
And
truth.
it's important to develop time on this relationship.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, it also helps me as a parent. It helps me be a better mom.
Yeah.
Well, you know, people say I can't afford a babysitter, but this is another place where church comes in, because
right.
there's got to
That's
be other
right.
couples in your church who need a night away from kids too.
Mm-hmm.
Take their kids one night, well, you take, you know, they take yours for another night.
Absolutely.
You save money on a babysitter, and you have the opportunity then to reconnect, don't
And
you?
interestingly enough, as the kids get older and they don't need a babysitter, it's when some couples begin to neglect that
Yeah.
time together. No wonder so many empty nesters
Yeah.
who haven't really had a good relationship. When the kids leave, they get a divorce.
Nothing to
And
bind
so
them together.
it's not just the parents with small kids, but maybe parents with older kids need to be more intentional about maintaining their relationship in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And you don't need a babysitter, you just need to be intentional about making time to be together.
Wonderful.
And what a wonderful lesson to teach our kids.
Yeah.
For my children to hear me praying for their
Yeah.
father.
Oh my goodness.
What a lesson is
and
that?
to see you taking time for each other as well. There's
right.
another, all right.
Yeah.
We're out of time.
Oh.
You know, speaking of time, we're out of it. And we'll be back with a final word right after this.
We've had a wonderful conversation today with Claudio and Pamela Consuegra about spiritual intimacy. Now, if you were just going to summarize, what would you say is the most important thing for people to do to get started with spiritual intimacy?
Pray, the minimum of 5 minutes, and pray and begin praying right away. Don't wait till a better time. The best time is today. 5 minutes a day, pray for each other.
Do it
Thank
now.
you so much, guys. Thank you for
Fantastic.
being here. And thank you for being a part of this one as well. We look forward to seeing you again next time. But until then, you take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for ways to keep your marriage healthy? We'd love to send you a free copy of the book Mad About Marriage by Mike and Gail Tucker. Mike and Gail share secrets of marital success and also address some big issues that can destroy intimacy. Call 888-940-0062 and ask for Mad About Marriage, absolutely free. That's 888-940-0062 or lifestyle.org.